Hello. It's time for another Bhagavad Gita video. Now you'll remember, if you've watched the last Gita video, that, the last couple, it was talking about the different sort of techniques, the different kinds of sacrifices that could be made by the practitioner that would lead to different states of consciousness, and which ones Krishna thought was better than others. He says in the last verse that we'd already covered in chapter 4, verse 33, but greater than the sacrificing of material possessions is the offering of being aware, punisher of your enemies, son of Partha. All actions reach their end in totality. So what we see now in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 34 and 35, Krishna says, "Try to understand these things by approaching him who is wise, by humbly asking him, by providing service to him. He can initiate you into awareness because he is aware and can see what is real. Son of Pandu, you shall gain freedom from being ever deluded again. You will see the great soul, the Atman, that is in all things, or in other words, that is in me." So, in these verses, after establishing that the offering of being aware, the act of practicing awareness, is the highest sort of spiritual technique that a person can engage in, he moves on to say that to be initiated into awareness, it's advisable to seek a guru, a teacher. And the reason to seek this is because the teacher is aware and can see what is real. If you're in that state of the inferior person, of delusion, then it can be very difficult to see the way to get out. And if you see the way, it can be very difficult to motivate yourself, to overcome the issues that you have that have put you into whatever particular state of delusion you have. Because there's only one reality, but everybody's delusion is different, okay? And whatever your delusion is, whatever the mix of influences are that have led you into this illusionary world, you're there at least in part because that's where you choose to be. And so you might at first not realize that there's an actual reality outside of the reality of your own projections. So there's all this stuff that you don't know, right? There's things you don't know, and then there's the unknown unknowns, right? And if you don't know those things, you can't become aware of them. But let's say that you get a glimpse of there being a way. It can be very difficult to not trap yourself or trick yourself into finding a way to avoid taking that way, because you are where you are out of a self-motivation, be it out of fear, be it out of comfort. You might think you're miserable, but you might still feel more comfortable being miserable than you would be if you had to not be miserable. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways that you can get yourself trapped. The guru cannot transform you. He cannot show you awareness. He doesn't smack your forehead and then suddenly you're aware. Okay, but what he can do is he can provide a gate. He can provide an offering. So you're stuck in this round and round and round and round circuit, and he can provide you with a detour that leads you out of that circle, that leads you into the center, right? That leads you to your higher self. But then you have to take it anyways, right? So it's essential that if you find a teacher, as Krishna says, he says that you need to approach him. It's not enough just to say, "Oh, this is my teacher," whatever, right? You have to humbly ask of him, and you have to provide service to him. You have to be able to make it part of your spiritual practice and engage in it with a kind of discipline, so that you are committing yourself to your own transformation. And the teacher's only real job, it's not to fix all your problems for you, it's not to make you happy, it's not to tell you how wonderful you are. The only real job of the spiritual teacher is to generate crisis in the spiritual student, the crisis that will allow them to shake off the shackles of their delusion and find that way beyond themselves, to find a way to transform themselves. A very secondary role of the teacher, beyond that shaking them up, is to motivate them to maintain their discipline, to keep going. Because if you can fool yourself, it's a lot harder to fool someone else. And it's especially hard to fool someone who's already done what you are attempting to do. Okay? So we should take these things for what they are. It is not about the teacher being some kind of other entity that is so much more superior than you, or a perfect person, or not human, or any of those things. The spiritual teacher is someone who has attained what you would like to attain, or what you at least are saying you would like to attain. And by connecting to that teacher and developing a relationship, it's not enough to just say, I've got this, now that's it, I've got this teacher and he initiated me, and so that's all. By developing an ongoing relationship with the teacher, it can be highly transformative. And in this way, you will gain the freedom from delusion, and you will see what here is called the Atman, the great soul. And how that relates to the teacher is that if you can see the awakening, the enlightenment in the teacher sees the awakening and the enlightenment in you. And so if you can see the enlightenment in him, when he reflects back and tells you that you have that enlightenment within you, you will believe it in a way that you won't if you just try to tell yourself that. So you can see, if you can see that state of oneness in his own being, he can then open it up so that you can see that state of oneness in your own being. Because the Atman is in all things. That's it for today. Please try to subscribe to this channel. Check out the other videos in this playlist if this is the first Gita video you've looked at, and check out the other playlists in this channel. And if you are looking for a spiritual teacher, for a guru, then check out the videos of the Yi Fa Society playlist on this channel. And if you find those interesting and you want to engage in a full curriculum of spiritual study, then please feel free to get in touch with me about being a student. Thank you very much.